Hey everybody, the word's getting out that Stacey is a real estate agent, and she's a very good one. And people are kind of contacting her, and she's talking to them. And if you need help finding an agent, you've got her number right there on the board. But if you want to find your own agent, here's some questions. I'm going to ask her some questions, and she's going to kind of walk us through kind of what you're looking at, what you're getting into before you get there. So she's really, really good at this. I can't wait to hear what she has to say.
All right.
So, what buyers should ask real estate agents? What about the free consultation? I know you're big on it.
Yes.
Give me the spill on that.
I absolutely am. I don't require you to be pre-approved. I've been a real estate agent since 2011. This is some of the stuff I've learned. These are 7 things. If I was a buyer, I would ask the agents if you're going to talk to them. And I say meet them in person. Try not to do it over the phone if possible. But I say a free consultation. It should be about an hour long. And an agent should give you that time, because that time they give you is going to cut down on so many issues or answer so many of the different things that go on during a transaction. Because if you don't know right off the bat that you're going to probably be several $1,000s out of pocket, non-refundable, I've actually had buyers go, I don't have that money right now. I can get pre-qualified for 0 down, but I don't have that money. And that ends it right there. Go ahead.
No, there's a lot of things that happen in the biggest transaction of your life.
Right.
And having all this consultation up front, I can see can be majorly helpful.
Yes.
I was under the impression you had to be pre-qualified first, but you say no.
I don't require it. If you want to get pre-qualified somewhere first and then come and we'll have the free consultation, sometimes I may even I don't require that. I just want to get you in the door. I want to explain what it means to purchase a home. I want you to I have a buyer's packet, and I give it to you, and this is what's all in it. You can take it home. I go over it with you. It usually takes about an hour, like I said, and I just try to tell you everything that's involved in the process. You're going to forget half of it, but at least going into the process, you know sort of what to expect. I think every agent should provide that.
And in this packet, you're going to cover hidden cost that nobody sees, and
well, it's not necessarily hidden. It's things that you didn't know that were coming down the pipe until you reach
give me
that.
a few of them, like inspection.
People don't realize how expensive those are, and they're non-refundable. They don't realize your appraisal.
Yeah.
You have to pay for it, even
That's
if the
good to know
deal
up
falls
front.
apart. You still have to pay for that appraisal. So I always tell my buyers, be prepared to spend $2,000-$3,000 if you have an earnest money. Some people require it, some people don't. You're looking bare minimum several $1,000s that you're not going to get back if that deal falls apart. So you've got to be prepared going into that, and you've got to know certain things that's just to expect.
Okay, so they're going to get pre-qualified, and the recommendations for a lender.
I highly recommend if you're interviewing a buyer as an agent, ask them, who do you recommend as lenders? Because a lot of times agents will work really well with lenders. They'll know that they have in-house programs. I even have numerous lenders that will waive certain fees. Like if kind of things sort of get a little tight for the buyer, and I'm like, hey, can you waive certain fees, or we can work around certain ways.
That's a huge help. That's really good.
Yeah.
And you don't care for the huge banks either.
I'm not a fan of the bigger banks. I try to use local banks where I actually know the person from start to finish. They're handling my loan. I pick up the phone. I have their cell phone numbers. I can go in and visit them at that branch. And it just makes things much more smooth. Where if sometimes you go to these bigger banks, one person will start out with the lender, the loan application, then it goes to another person. And I've literally had deals fall apart because between one person and the next, they don't get the stuff done correctly. So I prefer smaller local lenders.
And when you're looking for an agent, you definitely need to know if they're full-time, part-time. What's your thoughts on that as your...
Yeah, so an agent doesn't have to be full-time agent, but they have to be accessible full-time. I think
they got to be full-time awesome. Because it's really getting a good one.
You do. Well, that agent has to be available all the time. You can't have someone that is going to be working. I heard a story that an agent worked with another agent, and they worked at the Department of Motor Vehicle. So throughout the day, they could not answer phone calls, emails, text messages, or if they do, they had to do it really quietly in the bathroom or something. That's impossible to negotiate a contract if you're trying to do that. If you're only going to be after hours, that's hard to show houses. That's hard on deadlines. So I guess the key thing would be ask them, how much are you available? You know, are you available 24/7?
And be careful using your cousin's friend or using somebody just because, you know, a friend of a friend or your buddy that just became real estate. Be real careful because that's a really good way to screw up a relationship. And I would never want to trade my friend for a deal that went bad because they didn't know what they were doing, or you know, you can really you can screw up on some businesses.
There have been friends that have used me, but I've been very upfront with them. I'm like, this is a business transaction. Don't treat it any other way. This is not me being a friend right now. This is when you're upset at something, you pick up the phone and you let me know if I'm not doing timely communication with you. So this is a business transaction. This is not being your best friend.
Yeah, the worst thing my friends can do to me is not tell me the truth.
Right.
And sometimes when emotions are involved in this,
Yes.
because this is an emotional thing, big time. When you're buying, selling, even rental property is your first one. It's a big step. And I can move on. I won't stay there too long. How long has the agent been a real estate agent? Does this matter?
So this is a good question because I remember when I was brand new starting out, you got to start somewhere. And usually if they're a good brand new agent, they're going to have a mentor that's going to be right there. So a brand new agent shouldn't be that scary. But then I've had some senior agents that were some of the worst to work with also. Once again, I think this is where you need to interview that agent. And I tell the people all the time, I'm like, you're interviewing me. I'm working for you. I don't get paid until we get to that closing table. So it is to my benefit to make this, well, it run very smooth, efficiently, very easy, the transaction. So I think that's why it's important to meet the agent in person and actually interview them. That's what I tell them. I say, interview me. And if you don't like me, then you can go to the next agent.
And interview your bank too. When you go into the bank, they're working for you.
They are.
And you need to treat them like that. You give them everything they need and interview them. And then go to the next one and interview them. That's a really good point. Mm-hmm. Why should I hire you instead of others? I like hearing this one.
Yeah, and I'll tell you exactly why. When we bought our very first house, it was probably one of the worst transactions ever. And we did not use an agent. We found a for sale by owner. And the guy was great. The for sale by owner guy was great. It was the lender and the title company. We almost lost the deal because I didn't know what I was doing, and I had to start digging and doing some research. And when we got to the title company, she literally put the document in front of Chris, and he said, "What am I signing?" She said, "It doesn't matter."
Yes, what is this? She said, "Just sign it because I said so." And that was really the wrong thing to say to me. And I just about stood up. I was starting to get up, and Stacey kind of was like, "Sit down. What are you doing? We're going to lose the house." But just know you need to go through those documents.
So I'm very passionate. I guess that puts something in me to, especially first-time home buyers. I love working with them. My goal is to make sure everything that you touch, I explain to you. You know exactly what you are signing. I just did a phone conference with a buyer from out of state. He was using the Louisiana residential sale agreement. And I said, nope, we have to have a conference. I said, I do not want you to sign this document until you understand every single thing that's in here, because it's a legal binding document and you've got to know what you're getting into. So that is my biggest passion. I love working with buyers and sellers, and I want to make sure you know every single step of the way, exactly what to expect, exactly what you're signing, so that there are no surprises. You don't get to when my buyers get to the closing table, they already know what to expect. They already know about homestead exemption. They know what they're going to be signing. And I'll even tell you, some title companies, I call them ahead of time. I'm like, you better spend time with them. Don't rush through this process. And I've even stopped them at title companies. I'm like, nope, you need to stop. You need to make sure they understand what they're signing, because this is a huge purchase. This is a big, big decision. And this is 30 years you're going to be paying on something.
Because you grow to know these people through the transaction.
Very much.
And your real estate agent ought to be trying to know you and know how what your situation is. And they ought to be reaching out to the title company and say, hey, prep them. This is where they're at.
Right.
This is what needs to be talked about. Make sure they understand everything and make them feel comfortable, because, it's a big deal.
It is a big deal.
So this is a perfect time to talk about how you handle negotiations. And this is a big one.
This is probably the trickiest part of every real estate deal, and because there's no black and white answer. It depends, one, if it's a buyer's market or if it's a seller's market. Sellers always think their house is worth more than what it's worth. And when you hand them an inspection response with all the stuff that inspector found, it will completely devastate them unless you handle it correctly. You have to be very gentle sometimes, especially if you're dealing with a for sale by owner. And if you're dealing with an agent on that end, you have to, I always try to say, hey, I know in the contract, the buyer, is asking, you're not guaranteed the seller will do it, but this is some stuff that they found. Can you have the sellers take a look at it, see what you think? Unless it's just something hardwired, definitely wrong with the house. A lot of stuff is just, So it really depends on how you approach it. And the buyers, whenever I do my consultation, my free consultation, I include that in there. I'm like, you're going to buy a house that's going to have a list of repairs just like this, and it's going to completely overwhelm you, and you're going to think, oh my goodness, this house is horrible. But you have to take a step back. And so as long as you have someone on the other end that will work with you, then you do the best you can. And I just have to kind of base it off their tone. And it's really no right or wrong answer. I just have to kind of feel my way through it.
Well,
and you fight as hard as you can. If you have the buyer, they should fight as hard as they can for you. But at the end of the day, there's only so much you can sometimes negotiate.
And keep in mind, that inspector's going to find everything.
They do.
They should. A good one will.
Right.
I mean, the first house we bought, he wrote up cracks in the tile. I looked all over the place for cracks in the tile, and it was a little hairline through the edge of one. I thought, man, this guy's really good. But that's what you want. You want him to find all those things, and you can bring those into the negotiation.
Right. Sometimes you can change the sales price based on that. Because a lot of times the seller will be like, I don't have time to fix this. And you're like, not a problem. Let's just lower the price a little bit, as long as it's nothing that won't mess up an appraisal. And I'll give you another tip. If you are the buyer's agent and you're the buyer and you go find a for sale by owner, make sure your agent gets that seller to sign a form that clearly states that agent does not represent that seller. They only represent the buyer. Because I've known there become issues. I always make my sellers sign if I'm not representing them and they don't have an agent on that end, to make it very clear, I'm not representing you. You're on your own with these documents. I am only representing the buyer.
And a good question would be, where do you get your clients to your agent? Where does your agent get your clients?
I think that's important because and a lot of agents may get set up this, but if you're paying to get clients and they're a one-time client and they're gone and they never refer you or never come back, there's a good possibility that you did not give them the service that they wanted. And I hear this from a lot of people. So pretty much I would say 99% of mine is it's off referral. It's either that I've met somebody through, I do a lot of volunteer work, or I haven't done a lot lately, but I've met people doing that, in various areas across our area. Referrals, I guess. I've worked with somebody. I don't know if
You've had 3 or 4 people. One person used you for 3 or 4 transactions.
Yeah, and then they'll refer me to their family and their friends and stuff like that. And that's how I prefer it.
That's the best way to find one.
Yeah.
Word of mouth, somebody that knows that person and knows them well, they know they're going to be taken care of, and that's really the best. Referrals are the best. Yeah,
and they know that. Yeah, they know that you know the legal ins and outs, and you're not going to let them hang up to dry and deadlines and stuff like that. But yeah, if you want me to help you find an agent, I would love to help you find one. I'm starting to create like a network of people, and then not only that, but if you don't, use these 7 questions. Ask them. Don't be afraid to ask these questions because they'll be working for you.
Yeah, we can put this in the description.
Yeah, we can.
And you can just read it off to them.
Yeah.
And see what they say and see if you like their answers. And if you need any help from Stacey, there's her number there on the board. Guys, have an awesome, awesome day. Leave any questions in the comments. We'll see you in the next one. Later.